Jack. Sonic's coming off a bad game, still at the top of the leaderboard. Curious to see if they're going to be able to take on Miramar, make it to the late game, and perhaps pull out another chicken dinner for themselves. Last week, Sonics had two. They had one on Miramar, one on Erangel. Didn't manage to do too much for themselves, in that last match, but there's so much potential for so many of these teams now as we go into this next game. And like I said, a lot of foot traffic. I mean, we had some really weird southern circles with a lot of water into play on Erangel, and that really cut short a lot of potential for some of those teams to kind of run away with too much, especially on that previous match there in Milta. So with so much land here on Miramar, I'm really excited to see how we play this.
Yeah, I mean, that circle cut out essentially 50% of this of playable area, and that's why that game was such a bloodbath. That being said, I actually really agree with Cameron. I think Sonics going out early actually gave them a little bit of a break, because they've been basically playing the full 25, 26 minutes of whatever the playtime of most of these games have actually been. They've been in it. So I think that was probably a nice little break. Like, all right, guys, let's reset. We'll have to see.
And Gas Cans as well, right? Another team that they were talking about in the break that has just had so much momentum and growth in terms of each individual player, but just as a cohesive unit as well. I think we heard both Poro and Cam say it at some point. Leave Gas Cans alive, let them get past the mid game, and they're going to run away with it. And that's exactly what we saw for this last match. Now, with Miramar, it's a bit of a toss-up. You get them in the late game, we see that. We definitely saw that in the group stages. We definitely saw it last week. So looking forward to seeing if potentially, them or Oath, maybe even another team, start to close the gap on the leaderboard, because it's now back within range.
I think Gas Cans have been wonderful, honestly. I really hope they continue. They've been a fantastic team to watch. They've been exciting. That circle's really kind of whatever. But yeah, I really think the Gas Cans have started to really bring things together. I think the roster is doing very well. Everyone on that team is contributing to their success here. It's not like it doesn't really feel like one player is carrying the rest of the team. Obviously, Honey Badger is doing a lot of work on that team as someone that potentially may be making the calls. But I think all four of them have been great. And watching a new team potentially emerge as one of the teams that's going to start pushing at the top is it's exciting. I agree with the analyst there.
And when we look at the teams that are consistently on the top of the leaderboards, not only here in the PCS3 Grand Finals, but in the group stages and the previous PCS3 showing events, the teams that are on top are oftentimes, as you said, the teams where each and every one of the members is able to accomplish much. That's not even just to say, all right, cool, you got kills are points are great, but what it shows is that the team as a whole is not only contributing to being up, but is capable of aiding in every aspect of the game, right? It's not just the mechanics of are you a good fragger or not, but it just shows that the game sense as a whole is looking really healthy for that roster. And that's the things that we look for when we look for some of the consistency. And I think, maybe even kind of what makes these teams great. Shoot to kill, a reason we talk about them a lot, even though they've kind of had a rough start to the series, is that no matter which one of those four players is up in the mid or late game, if the rest of the team goes out, all four of them are scary. All four of them are capable of making great decisions. It's one of the reasons why Sonics has been such a successful roster as well, because there's not really too many weaknesses that we can name about any of those players. So, when we get to this series, this level of PUBG, it just shows you what it takes to kind of be at the top here.
Yeah, adversely, on the other side of that, you have a team like ATC, which has all the same ingredients you just talked about in Sonics and Gas Cans and, STK, and they are just not having a good time. I mean, ATC is now last, which we had comments there, but comments at the very least had a decent game in the last game, and I can tell you this right now, ATC is not the team I expected to be on the bottom. I don't know what's going on with them.
I don't either. That's kind of been a bit of a head scratcher, right? Especially with the inclusion of Sharpshot during the group stages. It looked like, after a week or two, they kind of found, a little bit of a zen, a little bit of that gel that you look for in some of those new teams when they bring on additional players, switch up the rosters just a bit. But for whatever reason, the grand finals, they've had a bit of a rough start. We kind of talked a little bit about the fact that Shoot to Kill and ATC fought quite a bit on those northern landings. They share landing spots, and Erangel, they're really close to each other here on Miramar as well. But that's not necessarily the excuse for ATC. When you look at Shoot to Kill, who's in 5th place, ATC down 16th, obviously something else is going on that's not quite working for them here.
I wish I could tell you what it is. I mean, you add a player like Sharpshot into your roster, inevitably it should be better. And I think that roster is still very well off, but they just haven't been playing well. Hopefully they turn around. I really don't want to harp on them too long. I think they're a great team mechanically, and I think they have many of those players have a great mind for the game. It's just not working. So hopefully it does. TAC 8 had a decent game in the last game. I believe it was the last game of this. Yeah, it was the last game. So hopefully they can build on that. They currently find themselves in 11th place. As we see some shots being taken there. For me, TAC 8 has kind of just existed so far in this grand finals. They really haven't made a massive impact. They haven't completely fell off. They're just kind of holding on. And I really want to see some of the magic that we saw from group stage out of these guys.
Yeah, there's so much magic, like I said, in the group stage, things that they were capable of, things that they accomplished that maybe I don't want to say that the opportunity hasn't been there, but I think they've put themselves in a position where they haven't had as many opportunities that you would really like to see that aid in their strengths. Now, Miramar is a game that, or is a match that I think could lend itself to a couple of these teams. Oath, historically, not necessarily a team that we look at and say, yeah, Miramar. They are a Miramar team. I think a lot of times we see the points that come in from Oath. They come in from it was Erangel games, but it's not to discount to say that their performance isn't great here. It's just that with these circles, the way that teams move and rotate in, you know, Oath's going to go for those points, but doesn't necessarily have those spaces that they're going to continue to kind of dominate and play for as, you know, I mean, with these circles, like you even said when it popped, it's a circle. And this is actually a very common circle that we see here, which is kind of why most teams are really centering themselves up as close as they can. But do you think that that kind of presents itself in a situation where it's a bit of an, I don't want to say RNG, but maybe, you know, that circle can kind of screw over some of these teams?
I mean, sure, but I'm just going to kind of go back to the point I made in the other game where, you know, a good team, regardless of the circle, will at least be able to get something out of the situation, whether it's a few kills or, a crash on another team or a breach that's going to help them. Oath, I can tell you right now, all four of those players have thousands of hours in this game, and Miramar is a map that they are comfortable with. Maybe they may not play it the best sometimes, but I still think that they can be incredibly successful on Miramar, and they've had really good games here before, so it really just comes down to the decisions they make, and I guess the teams that they run into. We'll just have to see.
You know, as the circle is coming to a close, just about everybody is inside the zone. We're waiting on Gas Cans and Illusion to work their way in. But meanwhile, we can see a couple shots coming out towards One Eye Open. You've got Comets, Duel, TAC 8, and even Sonics all around this area. And, you know, in fact, quite a few teams being rather neighborly right now as Michael is kind of a little bit of a scouting mission, got close to Sonics to see Jazza starting to do a bit of the same now as they set themselves up towards La Bandita. The circle's going to take another shift, keep just about where it is. And once again, two teams on the edge, both Gas Cans and Illusion, needing to creep back along the edge. But for the most part, nobody needs to move.
No, and I would tell everyone that, buckle up. It's going to be a slow early game. I mean, none of these guys really have any reason to move. Most of them are in a position where it's going to be good for a rotation. However, if that actually is the case, because of how many neighbors, as you said, they may not be able to get that free rotation they want. But overall, I think most of these guys are set up where they want to be, and they're basically just going to wait for the shift.
Yeah, and, you know, I kind of a lull of a game. This is going to be the part where we might wait potentially even a couple more minutes until we start to see any teams fall here. We might lose a couple of players that could potentially scout ahead for those compounds, get a little bit too close. As we saw earlier, Veritas sent one right up onto Sonics, but they were able to survive that pullback and stay 4 up. So still having 64 alive almost 9 minutes in is not necessarily unheard of on Miramar, but it just kind of plays to the caution, right, for so many of these squads.
Again, it's just that this is I'll just say it, this is a very uninteresting circle. It's not one of those that's going to cause teams to, rotate or over rotate or have to deal with, wrapping in the blue. I mean, as you can see on the map, like pretty much everyone is in a decent position here. That shift is obviously going to change things for a lot of the teams on the north and the southwest, but this seems to be like it's going to be a round Impala crossroads type of game where it's going to be somewhat of a lull, and then in the next shift or two, we're going to lose half the teams without even really being able to blink. So,
I mean, you've got open space
Buckle up.
down to the south there to Puerto Paraiso, but it's essentially all downhill and in a bowl. Hardshift's kind of in that area, but with Illusion, Gas Cans, Shoot to Kill all needing to find themselves in the circle, we're starting to see teams rotate back on towards each other. We've also got half of Los Leones in. Rumblers currently sitting in that position. We can see just a bit on the mini map there as they start to rotate towards Fabled, and Hardshift's instantly setting themselves up here to that high ground, taking in the rocky terrain, and this could maybe cut off anybody hoping to come into Puerto, but you've got Illusion that's looking to come into this backfill position, taking in behind Hardshift's and even Fabled, but it's getting tough. There's really not a lot of places left for teams to go.
Nope, and that's going to cause these teams to run into each other, and that's going to be the bloodbath that you and I, and I'm sure the viewers also would love to see. I mean, taking pleasure in these players' misery is really the reason that I do this job, to be honest. Sounds awful, but it's true.
No, I think you've even said as a former player, there's the circles that you hate are as the circles that we as casters love, and we love it because it really puts them on their toes, makes them think, and creates quite a bit of action as teams find themselves on top of each other. But with this circle being a little bit safe, a little bit easy for the start, everybody is able to keep themselves in a comfortable position all the way up through phase 2. We're still at 64 players alive, but now you've got 2 teams on top of each other in Los Leones and a couple now looking for a line of sight here to see ATC looking to play the Mesa here.
Yes. Okay, slight break in the ankles. Knees are okay. No big deal. But yeah, I mean, I honestly think the player version of me would hate the caster version of me. You know what I mean? Because I just like really seeing those messed up circles, and as a player, I really hated it, obviously, because it's stressful. But either way, these guys will find a way. You know what I mean? They'll make something work, and if they don't, they'll try again the next game.
And now just about everybody is in the zone. Shoot to Kill, as we can see, have 2 inside the bowl, Purdy Curdy and Civ, just Alo and Luke coming to join. But you can see just beyond that ridge line is Michael for Veritas, who walked up ahead from D-Treats trying to get some information on the Luke. 12 nades are out. Luke knows he's here, and this knock could be huge for Shoot to Kill to keep playing that position, but that is going to be just enough pressure to take Michael out of this fight as you see and get back into the vehicle and pull back to the compound with D-Treats as Veritas continues to maintain this 2-2 split, but now they know that they've got somebody at the back door. Question is, do they know it's Shoot to Kill? They do now as a headshot coming out from Luke. 12 gets the knock onto D-Treats, and Michael's in the vehicle is just going to keep driving, try to get it a little bit safer out of line of sight from Shoot to Kill. He's going to return some fire, but he's not really in a position to go for that res just yet.
Yes, and this is shades of what we like to see from STK. This is exactly what they're known for, is just playing aggressive, especially on knocks. They're absolutely going to go for this, and if they can, they're going to try to cripple Veritas further by potentially taking out Michael, but he's gone, and I'm pretty sure they realized that. I mean, it was a lost cause to try to go for D-Tree. It's unfortunate, but also a beautiful bait there by Luke 12. He had the angle initially on D-Treats challenge, and it wasn't even Luke 12 that got the knock.
Now this circle shift is rough, Godspeed, because we've got so much open terrain there on the northwest part of the zone. Zenith has already set themselves up, and as Veritas starting to rotate for position, taking that last building that's kind of available for this position. And so although they lost one to Shoot to Kill, they're in a prime position to gatekeep them now as they need to find a rotation further into the zone. There are a handful of other compounds that are still open and for the taking, but with so many teams in the area, I think we're going to start to see the kill feed line up here. We can see Shoot to Kill setting down in a ditch. They've got neighbors in duel just to the north of them. This is a ditch that we see take a lot of action in these types of circles.
Sonics have a really good position. This is or can be difficult to hold. However, the good thing about this position, even though it isn't a bowl and it can be hard to hold, is it's difficult to push as well. Unless, for instance, like the north is completely cut out and duel has to come in. I mean, no one really should be able to push into Sonics, not only from them taking shots at other people, but as well as duel and the surrounding teams potentially just protecting them. So I like this play from Sonics.
And so many more teams still needing to get into the zone. Illusion sending Light Show ahead to scout for them as they're coming in from the south. Fabled, Hardshift's, Comets, Gas Cans, and Rumblers all needing to do the same. As you can see, Shoot to Kill starting to send it as well. Take a little bit of damage here, but that's going to push Oath out of this compound. Reload's going to pull back and rejoin the rest of their squad. So Shoot to Kill have found a position to sit at safely, though. You can see it's not going to go without a little bit of contestation as both Oath and Veritas taking shots into here. But, ooh, Jazz landing a couple onto Purdy, but he's still at 80 HVP.
SDK have, kind of bullied their way into this position, and it's not the greatest. At the same time, it's a foothold for them to rotate. So even though they're, potentially in the crosshair of multiple teams now, and they're going to have to move, they at least have time to think about what their next move is going to be because they're in the circle. So it's nice to see them kind of bully their way into that position. It was a good play.
Now back out to the south, Dodge trying to hold a little bit of their own on the edge here. We saw some shots out towards the hardships who still aren't in the zone. Comets just beyond that. We can see a little bit of that purple in the mini-map as Dodge, it actually has quite a few teams that are rotating this area. Fabled kind of rotating out to the east, potential to crash Adams compound as Dodge has a 2-2 split working for them here. But now hardships, it's phase 3. Blue's closing in. You've got 20 seconds until it reaches, and you've got to make a move now. So as you can see Luke making a run for those vehicles, I think hardships are just going to have to send it. They're going to have to hope that wherever they send it to is a place they can play from. They should have a bit of information, but that information that they've scouted should also tell them that almost everywhere around them is occupied.
Yeah, this is not exactly the best look for hardships. They're rotating straight into the gas cans, who at this point I'm sure are going to hear Lobes' bike. Or actually, yeah, they heard it. They heard it. Lobes is huge here. If he can get a knock, he is going to find one.
Lobes taking down Oldless. We see J-Sank falls here as Luke has actually been flushed out, so only 2 players still up. He's going to pick up the flush as well. Meanwhile, Shoot to Kill is eliminated as they try to push onto Zenith's compound, so Hardships still trying to hold it up with 2. This is being third-partied as well. Comet's trying to get in on the backside of this as the push is coming in from Gas Cans. Voxic getting the flush onto J-Sank. As the throwables are coming out from Lobes, who's at half health, trying to use a first aid kit, but Nikos getting another 25 damage with the throwables. Lobes has a little bit left, but not much to do here. You see the rest of them bleeding out in the blue. He's got a bike, it's smoking. It's a bit of a risk to take this, but he's running out of options here.
Ooh, use the blue. Use the blue. I love it. Do it, Lobes. Be the hero. Be the hero you're meant to be. Oh, this is the play.
Oh, he's got an option here to take shots.
Voxic. Oh, Voxic ruined that for him. Well played by Voxic to be aware of that, but Lobes almost could have potentially had a double there and might have even cleaned it up because Voxic was in the shack. Nice try, but at the same time, I feel like Hardships shouldn't have been in that position in the first place.
Yeah, unfortunate to see now, as you can also see, unfortunately for Fabled, it did rotate into this position. It was previously held by Dodge. They lost Adam out of this fight, but Finna still trying to hold an angle here as Lampalot getting the flush onto Hella. Finna taking down Greg Shot as well, was working on a res to Rip, so that's now 1 player left up for Fabled. An aggressive push coming in from Finna is looking to close the gap in and take this to a close range fight. Danny G and the rest of Dodge holding the high ground onto this, and shots coming out. Top Dog from Illusion actually spotting this from all the way up north, so a couple of teams look at a third party, but once again, look at this rotation coming in from Finna, using the fence now as a bit of cover, but Haxetti spots him out, takes a couple bit of shots, but right as he takes the peek, Lampalot and Danny G get the job done, and Fabled goes out in 14th place, but now Dodge need to turn attention, get themselves into the zone because it is phase 4 and they've still got neighbors in this area.
That was actually really well covered by the rest of the members of Dodge there, Lamp and Finna to be able to have that play Danny G as well. Nicely done. The gas cans are continuing to just kind of push the pace here. 3 kills, obviously that came the way of hardships, but they have a little bit of a precarious run to make now.
There's really not a lot of places to go without pushing or being in line of sight of that one-eye open compound that they've got for themselves here. And Comets as well. Comets just on the edge of zone here. We can see Voxic taking shots along with the rest of gas cans using their DMRs.
They can play,
but already Nico's taking some fire.
Yeah, they can play this road, but not for very long. Like, if they stop where Honey Badger is, they could potentially just wait, try to find some information, or they could even play the dip in front of them, which is right behind the compound that One Eye Open is in. But past that, I mean, once this shifts, they're not really going to have a lot of room to work with. So we'll see what the gas cans have here.
You can see as well, shots were actually coming out from Duel, who's quite a bit to the north. You see that light blue all the way off to the west there. And so for so many teams playing the circle, these dips, these trees, a couple of little shanty compounds that some of them have had, a couple of long buildings to play for a handful of these squads. That's all that's left. And the circle is going to shift back down to the south. It's going to keep One Eye Open's compound in. Sonics will maintain their dip as well as Duel having that compound. But once again, Veritas and Oath are going to have to make a run for safety. ATC and Illusion as well. As we see Dodge who's trying to heal up from this fight from TAC 8. Another one of those teams that are going to have to shift in this direction for the next circle.
Yeah, Rumbler's actually in a nice little position off to the side, I believe we just saw. And Zenith now on the north edge. Dodge, they actually have something to play. The problem is so does Comets, and that's pretty much where these two teams, I think, are going to start to converge, unless Dodge goes for like a crazy send. I don't even know. I don't even know what their play is here. They pretty much have to try to wrap into Comets and maybe take the dirt road dip. We'll have to see.
I think
Oath also
well,
in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, Oath is really trying to take this as cautiously and patiently as possible. A big problem for them was that ATC was keeping that ground in Impala, but ATC is going to go ahead and grab their vehicles, send it. We see Oath read that information and know that they can wrap just a little bit farther now that that threat has removed itself. But you've got so many teams out to the south as we look just ahead. Illusion, ATC, Duel, all right on the eastern part of the zone. And so Oath is playing this as carefully as possible. Meanwhile, Dodge finding themselves eliminated. Winlow getting that final kill onto Finna, and that's going to mean that TAC 8 can split their attention. They're going to send 2 ahead, crashing right onto ATC. So this is 4 teams now in one area. Godspeed.
Yeah, this is actually madness. Look how many teams are fighting on this edge. Freeman Please is going to find Weeam. Marcelik's going to find Lush. And Tactical 8 is getting pounced on, as we also see Ladigan on him on Hardy.
And Norcus has his work cut out for him here. I mean, ATC was a team that we talked about that had so much potential, but right now finding themselves in a bit of a pinch here. So they're not quite sure where to turn their attention to with so many teams coming in every direction around them. Oath is also choosing this as an opportunity to pull back in, but we see a vehicle explosion is going to blow up the rest of that cover there for TAC 8, giving Illusion just barely on the edge of zone. We see some looting coming back out, trying to get themselves ready for the next fight that's up to come. Duel, meanwhile, is watching out of every angle that they can from the east. Nagila spotting out Snakers, getting the flush. That is huge. He's got 2 more players still left to get for Dodge. As he tries to pull back. Oh, ATC is just melting into Oath here.
Beautifully done by ATC, and Aguila comes alive. It's something we've been actually waiting for him to do over the course of this grand final so far, and it's nice to see him get a really clean spray there onto one of the members of Oath. ATC still in a little bit of trouble, though. They're not in.
Oh, they're not in. You've got Illusion that's still healthy to the south waiting for him. Pat Cap's in a prime position to catch one or more players of ATC by surprise. You see that wrap coming in from Norcus, coming up right next to Pat, who's a little bit
what
low.
Is going
spotting
on?
out Aguila. He's going to take down one. And it looks like the rest of ATC pulled up just enough. They weren't able to get Pat Cat right away. Sharp Shot finds him out here. And as they try to recover, already more damage coming back out.
Linksy actually hit a nasty shot. And that's going to cripple ATC. I just don't think Duel knows how crippled they actually are to potentially push out and just finish off the team.
Illusion miraculously was able to survive that fight with 3 players still standing, but now they've got to push Sonics, who's in that dip that we kind of talked about how hard it can be to push earlier on. The dip is not free here, but that's not going to prevent Icy Flex from keeping a watchful eye onto it.
No, but I mean, they're going to have to make a play here soon as they're getting into this Barado because they are not in, and Sonics is really the only position they have to push at this point from where they currently are. Meanwhile, Gas Can's trying to recover here. Going to fight with Comets, and what is this?
Oh, the dip
erased.
Definitely was free.
Absolutely erased. Yeah, we knew that dip wasn't free, and unfortunately, I mean, to Illusion's credit, I mean, they really didn't have another play, so it is what it is.
Yeah, if you're going to try to send it, do something with the vehicle. Maybe you'll luck out, run over a player, come out shooting, and pull that off. But it's a hard play to pull off nonetheless, and Sonics are going to be able to survive. Pick up 4 kills from that, but Gas Can's getting this fight on to Comets as Nico's looking for a nice angle, gets the flush, and it's going to pull that vehicle away to try to stay back ahead from the blue. We can see Vegas lying just outside the compound, snaking his way slowly in.
Nicely done.
There's plenty of art cover here, but the blue zone is moving in. There's no real time for reses, but looks like Gas Cans are going to be able to pop it off nonetheless. Meanwhile, ATC sending it up here into Duel's compound, moving in saying, howdy neighbor, we are here for the buildings, as they were able to recover from that still up.
See, here's the issue I have with Duel. I don't think that ATC should have even made it on. They should have even made it this close to their compound or in their compound. I mean, Duel really had this whole thing spread out, and they've now potentially invited disaster. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, it's still a really tough position for ATC to push from, but you know, Duel had control of this.
It almost is a bit of a mirror of that Erangel game earlier where Duel had to compound up through the late game. We saw them up until the final fight sitting with 0 kills right now, sitting with 0 kills as well, as they, like you said, waited a little bit too late to take this fight to ATC, who themselves are sitting on to 6 kills. The circle is still here, but in 25 seconds, we're going to get that phase 7 pop, and it could potentially spell disaster for all of these teams now, as it looks like Zenith has found an angle. Kickstart actually rotating just a bit wide to get a knock onto ATC.
Yeah, and it's just Norcus now left to hold down the entirety of Duel, as Sharpshot's going to get the res, and I think this is the best time, if any, to get that res up. So they're going to be able to get it, and Norcus now playing extremely sneaky. I love this. What can he do, though?
There you go. The circle shifted away, does no favor to Duel now, so the fight absolutely has to come back out. Meanwhile, Veritas is eliminated. Rumblers rotating back down and getting that flush, but Zenith is going to send it first. The only compound into the zone is nades coming back out from ATC, trying to clear out what they can from the roof there. It's not going to do anything, but you can see as well the kill feed. Oh, Norcus trying to find one, but whips it. Oh,
Penta, what a play.
Sharpshot falls there. Successful flash, and Duel is going to clear house, taking down ATC. Wooly has been knocked, and they have just a few seconds left until the blue zone's going to start to move, so this needs to be a very quick res. They're not on the fastest part of the circle, but they're not on the slowest part either, and so time is of the essence here for Duel. As far as in terms of where to send it, there's not a lot of places to go. The only coverage shacks, places to play from, are currently held right now from both Zenix and Sonic, so some vehicle hard cover could come into play. We've got some ridgeline, a couple of hay bales, but that's just about it.
Yeah, Duel's actually going to send it towards the middle. They're getting right in range of where Rumblers are. I'm sure at this point Rumblers are starting to see that and potentially taking shots, but I mean, yeah, Duel's in a rough position. They took a while to clean up that fight. They did clean up the fight with ATC. It was clean. It was well played, but now they're just kind of stuck.
You've got Duel and Rumblers, Zenith all fighting with each other. We can see the knocks are coming back down, but now Throwables coming out trying to steal some flushes there. Zenith doing what they can to continue their hold on the center as what's left of Duel starts to fall apart. We see Lynxy just narrowly escaping with his life on the edge, just going to heal up. He's got some boosters to pop, but there's no hope for the rest of the squad as we see them finally flushed out. Cherry getting taken out by Shrimsy here. Meanwhile, the rest of Rumblers do have this ridge line to play with. They've got some vehicles still healthy, and that's going to give them line of sight of everybody there as a good headshot comes out from McCoy, taking out Vegas, and that goes Comets. We've got our top 4 teams.
Yeah, and I think the real telling thing here for Sonics is how comfortable they've been just fighting in these really awkward positions. This is not necessarily the greatest spot for them. They do have a nice little ridge, but I mean, they're just making it work, and that's what's so impressive. Nade's coming out as well, going to do a lot of damage potentially to Zenith. That might even wipe them out, and Sonics are going to be able to recover here.
And good use of throwables as well, keeping the pressure onto Zenith, who are currently working on reses, seeing if they can capitalize on that, potentially steal that position away. But you can see as well, looks like they've spot out Lynxy. And what's left of throwables for Mime. He's got 1 Molotov left in the bag. It's going to be here. But look at this. Zenith, meanwhile, overthrowing on those throwables. And that's going to keep the rest of Sonic still up. They've got so much left to work with, but the circle is just beyond them. In fact, it's just beyond the crest of this hill. So they are going to have to move, which is why we're seeing them so aggressively trying to do something about Zenith. But they've got to be careful with those peaks because you've got the Rumblers to worry about as Tiggleton spotting out one, taking a few shots. And hasn't found a knock just yet.
No, and Shrimsy's going to go down to McCoy, and so Sonic's starting to run out of time here. Lynxy as well, moving on the edge. Throwables are coming out, and Los is actually going to find it. That's going to open up some room for Sonics here to potentially push on to Zenith, but Rumblers really are the ones with a commanding position in this game.
And 9 kills for them as well.
Beautiful stuff for them, yep.
You love to see it. We've always talked about Rumblers being kind of a Miramar team, and this kind of shows us why. It shows us their ability to play this.
We always were a Miramar team, and you know, it's good to see that they're still a Miramar team.
Now a rotation coming in from Sonics. They're going to lose Mine here. You can see more bullets coming back out. So H1's going to blow out the tires, try to keep better cover so nobody can shoot underneath to get the knocks, and try and pull this res out. Tiggleton left behind to anchor, but he is going to have to move to get into the zone as Mime unfortunately falls to Los here. So Win doing what he can, but
this is huge.
Barely in the zone. Look at this. Tiggleton tries to do something here for Zenith, but he gets taken down by Roth. Waldo actually steals it, and the zone takes care of H-Win. So Sonics falling in third, but they did well for themselves in terms of kills. Now Rumblers lose McCoy here, and though at 11 kills, they've got to take care of Zenith as we move on to phase 9.
And that could have been a massive play for Tig if he could have gotten across. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to, but that's just going to leave the Rumblers to pretty much shoot fish in a barrel here with Zenith, because Zenith doesn't even have the circle. It's the Rumblers. Oh!
Ooh.
That's a huge knock.
Huge. I mean, look at this. McCoy falling down here, and the tension is now split for the Rumblers. Do they go for the res, or do they keep it up two-man, try to keep control of the circle? You can see every peak right now is met from fire. I think Zenith really doing a great job of concentrating that attention on each individual player of Rumblers there. As you can see, Gaxi and Los, bit of recovery back to 3, so it's a 3-3 again.
They're getting the damage, but they need to start moving, because if they don't, they're essentially allowing the Rumblers to recover, which is exactly what's happening. With those shots, especially like a headshot knock like that, they need to start potentially moving up. I know they don't have utility. That's another one. This is the time, Zenith. You got to go.
I mean, Gaxi had no helmet. We saw, what those peaks can do, really do a lot of damage onto the Rumblers. And so right as that peak came, Zenith getting that down player, and they find the flush. They're going to push back in. Molotovs are coming back out. They get Gaxi and Los down. Only Waldo's still standing. You can see Kickstart ready is going to find him there. Great shooting. And Zenith taking the victory here with 8 kills.
Yeah, they initially had 2